All right, everyone, we need to talk about crypto in this video. Bitcoin, Ethereum, holy cow, Ethereum. XRP will give an update on, and then finally, SUI. I think I can finally do the hog call in full voice once again as I continue to be on the up and up. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that that continues to be the case. Guys, we got a lot of interesting things to look at in the charts. I'm going to update these analyses over at the Discord, by the way. The link's in the description. You can save 50% off your first month by using code word doctor when you sign up. Guys, I'll tell you more about that later and how you can join the thousands of members who are already over there. In the meantime, check out ETH. I think this is the one to start off with. I know I usually use Bitcoin, as I believe I agree with the sentiment that it's the index for crypto, but look at that, just the triple top that we have on this. That is a very, very ugly sign. If it wasn't for the fact that we have the line being held right now, that the bottoms are raising up. So the bears are giving more ground into the bulls. However, they're holding the line up here. The bears are saying, Nah, we're not gonna let you go above this line. And so far they haven't. And if we make this a story of moving averages, we have this orange 200-day moving average at about 2,700, which actually is down at 2,697 now. So it's actually just a touch below 2,700. And then we have this blue EMA coming down here, acting as support for us as well. And if I take down the technicals so we can see just a little bit more, you'll see that with these long wicks of buying pressure that we have for Ethereum, that the 13 EMA is the number, or the moving average, I should say, that we just can't break. And this 20 period moving average that's coming up to meet it so far, that's a reversion to the mean that we see, or that the mean is coming across, or the price action is moving across to meet the mean. Man, words are hard this morning. Now, I will say that as we see these 50s and this 20 start to come up across the 200s, that's a bullish sign that we see. Ethereum's momentum has cooled off to a good place. We're back into bullish territory, but out of overbought territory. While it's not a good sign to see that resistance happening right around the 200-day, there's still a lot of reasons to be hopeful that $3,000 to $3,300 price tag is in the cards. And I switched it from saying 3,300, which that's what this would suggest, is that price target of 3,300, which I still believe that we can absolutely get to 3,300. But there is significant resistance right around that $3,000, including psychological resistance besides technical resistance that we find there. So for this, we want to see the bottoms coming up. That's a good thing. That means that we're squeezing that pressure up on the top of this to break that line, which from today, if I put my cursor right here and point at it, 2732 is that number that we would have to get above to actually come back and retest this for a fourth time. Right now, riding on top of the 5 EMA, we want to see that price action continue to hold out. And I will say, from more of a macro level, we have the Fed minutes coming out today. Talked about it in my previous videos. We also have tomorrow GDP updates, the second estimate for Q1. And then we also have personal income and outlays, which includes personal consumption expenditures on Friday is what we're looking at for that, which is going to be a huge update. First of all, for inflationary purposes, but then also a few hours after that usually is when we get the Atlanta Fed GDP Now update for Q2, which last I looked was around 2.4%. We will either want to see stabilization or strengthening in that number. What we don't want to see is significant compression in that number, bringing it back down towards zero or even going negative. Anything that would fill out that recessionary case, not necessarily a good thing. But I will say right now, the technicals, as long as the underlying macro environment seems to do pretty well for Ethereum, such as what we see in the market bias, if the stock market goes bonkers, the crypto market should be able to be helped out by that, even though there's not a direct correlation. So let me put Ethereum back up here. And like I said, I do think that we can get to that price target. And I have it over here for you. It's a little bit shrunk up. 33.44 is what we have. And if I'm bringing back some of the other lines that are on here, let me put up some of the other numbers. There we go. And I think maybe that one as well. There we are. We can see that we actually have a buildup right here, the 38.2, and there's also a 618 number in here right at about 3,000, which would go along with what we would have for that psychological resistance at about 3,000. So we might have a little bit of a stumble, a little bit of trouble there, but if we make that full movement from this pennant pattern that we have shaping up now, this bull pennant pattern, that should put us up to that 3,300 number, which coincides again with significant resistance right at about 33.74. And then there's also a 33.45, maybe. That's what it is, 33.45. I stretch this out, I can really see that number on there as well. So guys, that's what we're looking at for Ethereum. If we move over to Bitcoin, I have the moving averages here that I want to take a look at, because if we go out to the weekly chart on Bitcoin, you can see as these prices head up that we have this movement down in the momentum. And that could actually be, and remember, this is a weekly chart that we're looking at here, but that still is bearish divergence, that at some point in time, this cooling of the momentum can lead to a price pullback. And what I would like to see on a daily basis is a little bit more cooling for the daily momentum as well, pulling us back just a little bit, giving us a higher platform to jump from. Now, mind you, we do currently sit on a pretty significant area of support right now, but we can actually pull back a little bit farther. We can actually pull back to 104, for example, and that would be a nice launching point, but we do eventually need to clear this 618 level that we have here. I said sitting on top of 111,377. That's the number we want to sit on top of. This is marking the all-time high that we have here. However, I think it's even more worthwhile than marking the all-time high. We'll actually mark that 111,377 on here, because that's the number to beat. That's the number that we want to get on top of to have further room to the upside. And guys, I think that based on this last movement, once we actually have a little bit of a cooling, maybe we pull back to the 50% Fibonacci level. And these are Fibonacci extension levels, by the way, from the previous movement. We tested out the 618. We broke over that 5. We can pull back to the 50% retracement level, or even the 38.2 that we have down here, which would actually be pretty massive support. Huge, huge, incredibly massive support down here around 98,098. And then we'll shrink that down to exactly that number that I'm looking at right now, which is 98,451. Pretty massive support right around that 38.2 level. We can pull back as far as that and still have that incredible rise that eventually takes us to my Bitcoin price prediction in the near term, in this run to 134,213, which I absolutely think happens in 2025, as long as the stock market is still doing well. If the stock market is trying to retest all-time highs, breaks to new all-time highs, that means that we're more in a risk-on environment. That makes it even easier for Bitcoin to get here. If we have a massive sell in the stock market, it's going to make it really tough to make this. So there is always going to be some caveats. There's always going to be some nuance and exceptions. But I do wholeheartedly believe that as long as our market strength continues in the stock market, crypto market strength should also hold out as well. We can totally make that 134,213 that you see on the screen in front of you. Guys, by the way, remember, I share these technicals, I share my analyses, I interact with the community members. I'm one of the panel experts over at the Discord. There's a whole team of us there supporting you in your journey towards financial freedom and building alpha in your portfolios. We got Crypto Will covering cryptos, even though I also do some crypto coverage myself. He's the guy who really knows a lot about the crypto market and everything that underlies it. And then Stockmo's over there doing the live trading and sharing his buys, his sells. All of us share our buys and sells as well. We even have an Ask the Expert channel that's over there as well. Guys, if you would like to find that community, a place where you can go, a whole ecosystem developed around supporting that financial journey, the link's in the description. Use the earner tier so you get unrestricted access. Use code word doctor so you get 50% off your first month. Try it out. See what you think. Think you're going to like what you see. I think you're going to end up sticking around for quite a while. It's the best community that I've ever had a chance to be a part of. Also, while you're down in the description, there's a link for Stockmo Academy if you want to learn about technical analysis, which crypto relies very heavily on technicals because it's so hard to fundamentally place. But technically placing it, absolutely, it's one of the reasons why I like doing technical analysis on crypto so much. And also the bread recipe trading strategy, which will tell you about when those massive moves could be coming up or down, and then you can plan your trades accordingly using that bread recipe trading strategy, which I personally use. Super easy to set up. Takes just a little bit of time to learn, but I'll tell you what, once you master it, I haven't found anything better so far. While there's not a win every time strategy, it's like the win the most times I've ever found strategy, and it's why I stand by it. It's why I put my seal of approval on it, why I put my name on the line. With 17 years in education, I'm an earned doctorate in education. I vetted these courses myself. They are absolutely and incredibly top-notch. Once again, massive discount if you use code word DOCTOR, D-O-C-T-O-R, for those courses as well. Same code word, whether it's the Discord or the courses. There's even an options course there if you want to use options to also add alpha to your portfolio, add it into your trading plan, your trading strategies that are also out there as well. The options course, once again, top notch, maybe even better than the technical analysis course. They are the perfect complement for each other. And if you bundle the courses, you save even more cash beyond that code word doctor. Guys, let's get back into the charts. Let's talk about XRP and SUI. All right, XRP still really struggling here, and I really want you to pay attention to the moving averages. Then we'll get back to support and resistance. Right now, we're down below the 5 and the 13. The 5 is in green, the 13 is in yellow, and the 50 is in red, and these are all exponential moving averages. And we are just, you can see the long wicks down below the 50. XRP does not want to lose that. The momentum on a daily basis has gone down into bearish territory, but just barely. It's riding just below 50. Being down below, dangling off the 5 EMA, dangling off the 13 EMA, which is showing us our rejection. There's a lot of decisions being made right now for XRP. We are getting to a critical moment, watching to see what exactly is going to happen for us in the near future. Are we going to sell off? This narrowing that we have, if we slap the Bollinger Bands up there for a moment, you can see that breakout really blew them open this last time. But once again, they're starting to settle down again as these days continue to go on. We don't have the same broad opening that we did before. So even though they have widened, they're going back to that narrow state as we continue to chop sideways. Sort of frustratingly, if you will, for XRP. But that settled momentum that we have is a good thing for finding out where our next move is. Now, mind you, let's talk about the downside first, then we'll talk about the upside. If we move to the downside, right now the number that we're trying not to lose is 232. But down below that, we have buying pressure that starts around 205 and comes all the way into about 215, almost 216. Massive support in there, and you guys can see with all the candles. Let me take down the Bollinger Bands. It's a bit messy up there. Look at all the bottom wicks that we have and the long wicks that happen around this level. And during the last biggest sell-off that we had, just this massive red wick that you have coming off this candle here before we really got that big old green pickle right there, popping us back up and blasting us through what was resistance, turning it back into support. Even though we have that bit of a free fall, I think the deeper we go into this, the bigger the buying pressure becomes. So I kind of want to find a nice entry because I still don't directly hold any XRP at this point in time, but I would like to, but I would also like to get it at a discount price. So if we see those prices come in that start to come in under $2 per XRP token, I think that would set up that next opportunity for us. Now, mind you, even though we're not below $2, I think there's still opportunity because I think we're going to retest these all-time highs, and I think it's going to happen this year, and I think we could absolutely start to see that price come out where we start to see this number up here, which is what I have for XRP. I think we can make that climb to 463. I really wholeheartedly do believe that we can make that climb to 463, especially if Bitcoin makes that 134, 213 number that I talked about. XRP, I think, is going to go right along with it. Now for SUI, there we go. Hog call, you're welcome. So let's take down the technicals for a moment because the 200-day simple moving average, absolutely wonderful. This blue 20-day is the next test that we have right now at $3.83. We're reverting to the mean. Good. That 20-day moving average being the mean that I'm referring to. Need to sit on top of it, just like we did before we had this sell-off. I guess that there was a hack of something that was on SUI, but it was not a hack of SUI, and that led to some of this sell that we saw that outsized some of the losses that we had in other parts of the crypto space, such as with Bitcoin, with XRP. Recovering nicely, though, from here as some of that FUD passes. So as that hack gets identified, some things get frozen. Now, mind you, that brings into question some centralization. And we know in the crypto space, centralization is something that we're trying to avoid. We would like to see that decentralization so that there's no centralized control and then leading us to further manipulation. So getting on top of this blue 20-day is going to be huge. That's at about 383. We are finding an area of support down here from a technical basis beyond the moving averages. That support goes from about 345, 346, all the way up until about 362. 382 is also a technical level for us for support. We need to sit on top of that before we can get into this big fat area with the last big fat rejection that we got. Tons of selling pressure that happens to be in here, and I expanded it up from 419 up to about 426. If we get on top of that, then we're looking at 457 to 459, and then at my price target up above there, 496, which I think that we easily, in the short term, hit that, once again, assuming that that strength returns to Bitcoin, and with Ethereum also moving, that we have a broader crypto move. I think SUI is going to move right along with it. And a big thing that I want you to pay attention to, if we get on top of that blue 20-day, look how quickly approaching that 50-day is towards the 200. Positive slope, just barely touching negative slope on the end of the 20, but overall, besides that minor movement, Big old positive slope here. The moving averages are moving us up near term. The 5, the 13 EMAs that we have on here, we got a bit of a dangling off of those, some near-term bearishness, but it looks like we could be moving back up above them. Lots of reasons to be hopeful for that movement, for SUI to keep on making that sweet move back to the upside. Come on, hit the 497 already. I know that there's a bunch of people chomping at the bit to get there. XRP, we're looking for that moment where it gets its stride. A confirmation of ETF approval could be one of those things that it take. It could be further crypto adoption. It could be further move to the upside for Bitcoin. We'll see if we get that settling. We'll see if we move to the upside. Ethereum, you better, I'm telling you, Ethereum, you better break 2,700. There's a ton of people who are tired of seeing you go up there and just tag it, tease it, and then pop back down. Come on already. Everyone's waiting. What are you waiting for? And guys, along those lines, what are you waiting for? Join us over at the Discord. We'd love to have you. If you guys like the idea of financial freedom, if you guys like the idea of building alpha in your portfolio, if you like the idea of having a whole community and a whole team of people there supporting you in that process, through the ups, through the downs, we're there. And you guys, once again, can get it cheaper using code word doctor when you sign up for that earner tier. And then also down in the description, don't forget about that coursework, options, technical analysis, technical trading. Bundle the courses, use code word doctor. That's going to be the best discount that you're going to see. Guys, thanks for watching. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning. We'll see you next video.